Topic: Training and learning. Subtopics: First, learning meaning and nature. Second, importance of learning in training. Third, relationship between learning and training. Fourth, basic principles of learning. A few important definitions of learning are given below. First, Gardner-Murphy, the term learning covers every modification in behavior to meet environmental requirements. Second, Henry P. Smith, learning is the acquisition of new behavior or the strengthening or weakening of old behavior as the result of experience. Third, Crow and Crow, learning is the acquisition of habits, knowledge and attitudes. It involves new ways of doing things and it operates in individuals' attempts to overcome obstacles or to adjust to new situations. It represents progressive changes in behavior. It enables him to satisfy interests to attain goals. Learning is the process by which an individual acquires knowledge, attitudes and skills that are necessary to meet the demands of life. While touching a burning candle, a child gets burnt and he withdraws the fingers. When he faces a similar situation again, he withdraws his fingers faster. Gradually he learns to avoid not only the burning candle but also other burning things. The behavior of an individual is thus changed through experiences. This change in behavior brought about by experiences is commonly known as learning. Thus, learning means change in behavior or behavior potential that occurs as a result of experience. Learning can result from both vicarious and direct experiences. Vicarious means observing someone and learning from that observation and not being directly involved in the experience. For example, a child learns how to clap hands by seeing someone else do it. Learning also takes place through direct experiences. For example, a child learns to write by practicing writing. A child normally learns from his parents, teachers, and the environment. Nature of learning. First, learning is universal. Every creature that lives learns. Man learns most. The human nervous system is very complex, so are human reactions and so are human acquisition. Positive learning vital for children's growth and development. Second, learning is through experience. Learning always involves some kind of experience, direct or indirect, vicarious. Third, learning is from all sides. Today, learning is from all sides. Children learn from parents, teachers, environment, nature, media, etc. Fourth, learning is continuous. It denotes the lifelong nature of learning. Every day new situations are faced and the individual has to bring essential changes in his style of behavior adopted to tackle them. Learning is birth to death. Fifth, it results in change in behavior. It is a change of behavior influenced by previous behavior. It is any activity that leaves a more or less permanent effect on later activity. Sixth, learning is an adjustment. Learning helps the individual to adjust himself adequately to the new situations. Most learning in children consists in modifying, adapting, and developing their original nature. In later life, the individuals acquire new forms of behavior. Seventh, it comes about as a result of practice. It is the basis of drill and practice. It has been proven that students learn best and retain information longer when they have meaningful practice and repetition. Every time practice occurs, learning continues. 8. Learning is a relatively permanent change. After a rat wakes up from his nap, he still remembers the path to the food. Even if you have been on a bicycle for years, in just a few minutes practice you can be quite proficient again. 9. Learning as growth and development. It is never-ending growth and development. At each stage, the learner acquires new visions of his future growth and new ideals of achievement in the direction of his effort. According to Woodworth, all activity can be called learning so far as it develops the individual. 10th. Learning is not directly observable. The only way to study learning is through some observable behavior. Actually, we cannot observe learning, we see only what precedes performance, the performance itself, and the consequences of performance. Why is learning and development so important? First, today's employees demand opportunities to learn. According to a 2016 Gallup report, 87% of millennials say learning and development in the workplace is important, while 59% of millennials say having opportunities to learn and grow are extremely important when deciding whether to apply for a job. Why is that important? Well, by 2025, millennials will make up 50% of the workforce. By 2030, 75% of the workforce will be comprised of millennials. In order for companies to compete for top talent, they will need to be able to offer a commitment to an employee's development. Second, hiring is more expensive than employee retention. It is difficult to understand the actual cost of employee turnover, but we inherently understand that losing productive employees is not a good thing. In their 2018 Employee Retention Report, Work Institute reported that 1 in 4 employees will leave their job, and nearly 77% of that turnover could be prevented by employers, regardless of the exact dollar value. Retaining employees is more cost-effective than the costs associated with the costs of separation, recruitment, and the hit to productivity. Mentioned earlier, 93% of employees say they will stay longer at a company that invests in their development. That's incredible. This also means that companies are helping to retain their employees by investing in learning and development. L&D not only boosts employee productivity, but it is incredibly important to boost employee confidence in themselves and trust in their employer. Second, hiring is more expensive than employee retention. It is difficult to understand the actual cost of employee turnover, but inherently understand that losing productive employees is not a good thing. Work Institute reported that 1 in 4 employees will leave their job, and nearly 77% of that turnover could be prevented by employers, regardless of the exact dollar value. Retaining employees is more cost-effective than the costs associated with the costs of separation, recruitment, and the hit to productivity. Mentioned earlier, 93% of employees say they will stay longer at a company that invests in their development. That's incredible. This also means that companies are helping to retain their employees by investing in learning and development. L&D not only boosts employee productivity, but it is incredibly important to boost employee confidence in themselves and trust in their employer. Third, training employees improves your bottom line. Employees are a company's greatest asset. Right, sure, they are. With the right team in place, the sky's the limit. With learning and development focusing on filling in knowledge gaps and upskilling the employees by focusing on the strengths of their employees. Companies have reported anywhere between a 14% to 29% increase in profit. An IBM study found that well-trained teams increased their productivity by 10%. Equipping the employees with the ability to do their jobs better is just a smart move. As managers, our jobs are to get the best out of every employee. Coaching and training employees is a great way to empower them to succeed. Fourth, untrained employees may put you at risk. So far we have mostly spoken about how learning and development reduces employee churn, attracts new hires, and improves your bottom line by making companies smarter and more productive. Also in the purview of learning and development is risk mitigation through compliance training initiatives and workplace safety training. Companies have a responsibility to ensure their employees work in a safe and welcoming environment. Though proper workplace behavior may feel like something people inherently know, companies can be proactive in training employees to maintain a safe and inclusive workplace. Implementing an effective ethics training program can help employees work better and minimize the risk of lawsuits for failing to comply with industry standards in safety and workplace behavior. Fifth, improved customer service and satisfaction. Why does a customer get in contact with a company? Oftentimes all of the information they need is available on community boards or amazing knowledge bases that support teams create. Customers look at company employees as experts in their fields with the ability to deliver information through dialogue. When a customer takes the time out of their day to wait on hold or schedules a session to speak with someone, then it is critical that employees are knowledgeable enough around their company's products to have a fruitful conversation. It's okay to say, "I don't have the answer, but I'll get back to you." However, it's far better to be able to communicate an in-depth understanding with answers customers appreciate. Empowering every employee to handle customer conversations effectively has a remarkable impact on customer satisfaction. In fact, there is a 16% increase in customer satisfaction with companies that are utilizing learning technology. Relationship between learning and training. Training is essentially a learning process. In a training program, learning is a complex, multidimensional process. There are myriad factors and conditions that influence the learning process. To further compound the situation, there are many players in the process: the trainees, trainers, support staff, etc. And each of these groups may have its own agenda to pursue in the training program, and often its own preferred way of operating to achieve it. They may even have divergent views on issues associated with training. In order to realize the program objectives, it is necessary that the trainer considers the learning process as a composite. There is therefore a need to identify different aspects of the learning process and adopting a strategy that takes on board all these dimensions. It is important that the learning team maintains a constant vigil of the learning process. Learning in a training program can be made effective in the following ways. First, direct inputs by the trainers. In a training program, a key function of the trainer is to provide suitable and quality inputs in the areas covered by the program. Second, learning through sharing within training groups. In a training program, especially in in-service programs, the training group is a powerful source of learning. Third, learning through practice and exercise. Learning could be imparted through individual or group practical assignments. The participants can be given special projects at the training center or can be sent to other agencies for placements or for specific projects or field. Fourth, formal and informal methods of observation. In this method, participants observe how a person is performing an activity, assess the nature of dedication. It helps him to understand the key points of doing a job. Fifth, out-of-session exchange with participants and trainers. Training can also be given in out-of-session exchange with participants. This also helps in the personal development of both trainers and participants. Key learning principles for employee training. First, learning is an active process. The majority of workplaces today expect their employees to learn by simply memorizing the concepts and data that is shared with them, irrespective of whether it is presented verbally or in black and white. Ulrich Bossert, the author of the book Learn Better, Mastering the Skills for Success in Life, Business, and School, says that this approach towards employee learning and training is totally ineffective. He and his fellow team members emphasize that learning is an active process, and the best way you can help the trainees learn is via engagement. An easy way this can be done is by using the retrieval method, where learners are asked to briefly explain and summarize the training's key takeaways. This can either be done verbally or in writing. Second, understanding the impact of past knowledge and experiences. Another learning principle in training and development is understanding the impact of past experiences. The way a person perceives anything that is shared with him largely depends on what they know and have experienced in the past. The twist here is that prior knowledge and past experience can be both a blessing and a curse. It can be a blessing because experience and knowledge make it easier for learners to quickly grasp concepts or information that is being shared. On the flip side, it is a curse because the same knowledge and experience can become a hurdle when they are learning and exploring new concepts. This is because learners tend to reject new concepts if they differ from what they have experienced before. In the latter case, learners often end up confused between what they learn and what they have experienced. They find themselves stuck between what is right and what is not and ultimately go off track. Third, learning does not mean bombarding a lot of information at once. This is a very important principle in training and development. A lot of trainers leave trainees frustrated by sharing a lot of information at once. This mistake not only disengages learners and leaves them discouraged, but also ends up wasting all the effort, money, and time invested in the training program. The part of our brain that focuses on short-term memory can rapidly get exhausted and fail to store any of the information that is shared if it is presented in large chunks. Therefore, to make the most of your investment and enable learners to learn, topics that are vast should be broken down into smaller subtopics for discussion. This is one reason why microlearning has become a popular learning technique across the world. Fourth, learners always think they know more than they actually do. Trainers should always remember that learners like to believe they know a lot more than they really do, which is completely natural. As a trainer, you will often find out a couple of people in your advanced training sessions who lack basic knowledge. Letting such people enroll and attend training that is not suitable for them will waste your training budget in addition to keeping the deserving candidates deprived of the opportunity. That said, trainers must consider finding a way that allows them to shortlist the right candidates. This can be easily done by conducting mini quizzes or short interviews. Fifth, feedback is extremely important. Most learners find judging their current knowledge and abilities difficult. Similarly, they can come to the wrong conclusions while giving themselves feedback. This is where the role of trainers and educators comes in. They need to ensure that the learners are provided detailed but constructive feedback that is essential for their learning and development. 6. Retention of what has been learned. The sixth learning principle on this list that encourages high-impact learning is focusing on the importance of activities that help learners to remember what they have learned. At most times, what we have learned gets forgotten if it's not revised, converted into an experience, or remembered via association with something else. This is a very typical problem but brings a lot of frustration to both trainers and learners. However, to tackle this issue, trainers can always include an activity in the training plan that helps the learners retain what they have learned. Alternatively, if the trainers happen to interact with learners on a daily basis, they should make it a point to remind them of the key takeaways time and again. More training sessions can be arranged on the same subject after a few months of the initial training to ensure that training objectives have been fully met. 7. Creating a non-toxic and relaxed learning environment. You can't expect a person to learn in an environment that is unsafe, toxic, and uncomfortable. Research proves that the environment where people learn has a direct impact on their minds, bodies, and their ability to learn. The best trainers are those who take this learning principle into account and ensure creating an environment that encourages learning. 8. Discussing the bigger picture. By bigger picture, we mean the ultimate goals and objectives that you are seeking to achieve by the end of a training program. Trainers should try to discuss these objectives in the very start so that the learners can learn in the right direction. Every learner attending a training session must be aware of what they are going to be taught, the ultimate goal of the training, and the practical application or importance of the lessons learned. 9. Focus on practical learning. Trainers should focus on practical learning by using scenarios. This is a learning principle that, when implemented efficiently, allows learners to better understand concepts that are shared with them. It creates a link between training topics and real-life scenarios. This way, learners not only learn quickly and easily but also retain shared information well. 10. Allow socializing. The final learning principle in training and development that you should remember is to allow socializing in training. This goes hand in hand with the learning principle number 7 on this list. Indeed, not everyone is a social butterfly. Some people are fond of socializing with like-minded people and seek opportunities to do so, while others are not. There will both introverts and extroverts in your training sessions. Regardless, it is a great idea to incorporate activities in training that allows socializing, as it makes the learning environment more relaxed, friendly, and comfortable. All of the above given learning principles are very helpful in designing training programs that are effective and successful. Components of learning. First, learning involves change. Change may be good or bad from an organizational point of view. People can learn unfavorable behaviors to hold prejudices or to restrict their output. Second, the change must be ingrained. Temporary changes may be only reflexive and may not represent learning. Therefore, the requirement that learning must be relatively permanent in nature. Third, some form of experience is necessary for learning. Experience may be acquired directly through observation or practice, or it may be acquired indirectly, as through reading. Fourth, learning involves concentration and participation. It usually is quicker and long-lasting when the learner participates actively. As a result of participation, people learn more quickly and retain that learning longer. Fifth, learning does not occur in a specific place like in a classroom. It is informal and it can be acquired anywhere, at any time. Sixth, there is no specific time for learning. A person can learn different things in his total lifetime. Seventh, learning is concerned with behavior, a change in an individual's thought processes or attitudes. If not accompanied by a change in behavior, would not be learning. 8. Learners benefited more from constructing deep explanations of the material than memorizing the facts. If there is no explanation in learning, then the learning will be difficult for learners. 9. There are multiple ways to learn things, but the learner should know which one is the best way of learning and select this one. 10th. It is related to frequent feedback which learners should get from instructors and peers throughout the learning process. Without it, even well-learned abilities will go away. Ewell emphasizes that the feedback will be most effective if it is delivered in an enjoyable setting that involves personal interactions and a considerable level of personal support. Characteristics of learning. First, learning involves change. It is a reconstruction, combined thinking, skill, information and appropriation in a single unity process. For example, when a child learns to read, they can retain this knowledge and behavior for the rest of their lives. It is not always reflected in performance. The change from the learning may not be clear until a situation arises in which the new behavior can occur. Second, all learning involves activities. These activities involve either physical or mental activity. They may be simple mental activities of complex, involving various muscles, bones, etc. So also the mental activities may be very simple, involving one or two activities of mind, or complex, which involve higher mental activities. Third, learning requires interaction. At the time of learning, the individual is constantly interacting with and influenced by the environment. This experience makes him change or modify his behavior to deal effectively with it. Fourth, constitute learning. To constitute learning, the change should be permanent. Temporary changes may be only reflective and fail to represent in any learning. Fifth, learning is a lifelong process. Learning is a lifelong process of gaining and using the information presented to a person. It is not static. A person never stops acquiring new information. It keeps a person's mind active and aware, but also conscious of the world around them. Sixth, learning occurs randomly throughout life. Some learning occurs randomly throughout life, from new experiences, gaining information, and from our perceptions. For example, reading a newspaper or watching a news broadcast, talking with a friend or colleague, chance meetings, and unexpected experiences. Seventh, learning involves problem solving. Learning involves problem solving, i.e., understanding and discovering relations between different contents in a situation. 8. Learning is the process of acquiring information. Learning is the process of acquiring information, knowledge, wisdom, and skills. It occurs as a result of interaction with the person's environment. 9. Learning involves far more than thinking. Learning involves far more than thinking. It involves the whole personality, senses, feelings, intuition, beliefs, values, and will. If we do not have the will to learn, we cannot learn, and if we have learned, we are changed in some way. If the learning makes no difference, it can have very little significance. 10th. Experience is necessary for learning. Some sort of experience is necessary for learning. We can get the experience from direct observation or from formal approaches to learning, such as training, mentoring, coaching, and teaching. We can get the experience from direct observation or from formal approaches to learning, such as training, mentoring, coaching, and teaching. Learning is more or less the acquisition of a new discourse, a new way of speaking, acting, interacting, looking at the world, and knowing it. It will be successful only when the information gained is used and understood. It is a continuous process, followed by an individual, that allows for the acquisition of information, attitudes, and practices through observation, seeking previous knowledge, searching out guides, and looking within as well as without. It is a key process in human behavior. If we compare the simple ways in which a child feels and behaves with the complex modes of adult behavior, his skills, habits, though, sentiments and the like, we will know what difference learning has made to the individual. How can learning a new skill help you at work? Learning can be extremely beneficial in helping you to achieve your career goals. Here are some of the ways that continuing your learning and professional development will not only benefit your health. Learning helps keep our brain active. Learning helps us adapt to change with ease and progress our career path. There are numerous benefits when it comes to learning new skills for work, no matter what that skill is. Top 5 benefits of learning new skills at work. First, it helps reduce boredom. Learning a new skill in the workplace helps stave off boredom and keeps your interest levels high. Doing the same things over and over again at work can quickly lead to boredom as it becomes monotonous. However, learning new skills helps to break that cycle, making day-to-day work life much more interesting. Second, it makes you more adaptable. Learning helps you become more open to change. By developing a growth mindset and believing you can learn new things, you will be more adaptable to the changes happening in your profession and workplace, and you will be more willing to take on new ways of working. Third, have more options to choose from. It can give you greater choices. Having a broader skill set makes you more versatile to transition into different roles and sideways moves to advance your career and potential earnings. It could create a whole new career path too. Many people have started learning a new hobby that then ultimately becomes their new career. Fourth, learning benefits your health. Lifelong learning refers to a person of any age keeping the mind and body engaged by actively pursuing knowledge and experiences. Of course, learning new skills can make you smarter, but it is even shown to be good for your health. It's great brain training. Neuroscience is proving just how valuable learning is in keeping our neural pathways active, reducing stress levels, and potentially delaying the onset of Alzheimer's. So whether you are learning a new language, learning a new computer system, or learning to knit, research suggests that keeping an active brain is as important as keeping an active body so that you can keep performing for longer, as well as being good for your health and for your career. Learning can be exciting and rewarding. Often learning helps you to discover unknown potential that you didn't know you had and allows you to grow your skill set, the old adage of adding another string to your bow. Fifth, your knowledge will stay relevant. Continuing your learning and professional development in your career keeps you up to date with advances and changes in new technology. This means you won't get left behind as innovation changes ways of working. You will stay relevant in a changing landscape as the economy evolves and technology improves. Without becoming a learning junkie and attending everything possible, it is highly advisable to think about your current and future learning and how this can help you to achieve your career goals and stay ahead of your competitors. Remember, when I talk about learning, I don't just mean going on a course. We are fundamentally the same as we were when we were children. We learn most through experience or experiential learning.